currently turned off, so there aren't any accidental overages in the background. We hope that this will be something that we can share and disperse to all of our entering families. So this session is being recorded. You've been made aware, I guess, but then also know that that's why the audio is turned off. The other housekeeping item we wanted to share just briefly is, as you have questions, the chat is also disabled. And again, for that very reason. So this recording and this session, we followed up with an email, which will have links to a lot of the information that is provided. But then that you're always welcome to respond to that email with individual questions. So just make note of those questions as they come up throughout the session, and we'll be sure to follow that up with you in your follow-up email. At this time, my name is David Presley. I guess I should have started with that. I've met many of you as you've gone through the admission process. I serve at Samford as our Executive Director of Admission, but I have the privilege of introducing our colleague in the Samford One Stop, Miss Nikki Bradbury, who is our Director of the Samford Retention Efforts and the Samford One Stop. And she will be sharing all of the information that we'll cover today. So with that said, I'm going to officially pass the screen over to Nikki and let her take it from here. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're seeing my screen with a few quick notes that we want to mention before we get started. As David said, the session will be recorded. We want to make sure that we have it available to share with you after so that you can reflect back on the information. I know we're going to go over a lot in a short amount of time, and sometimes it's good to be able to hit rewind and replay and listen to things multiple times. So we want to offer that to you and also have it available to offer to anyone who's not able to attend tonight's session. I also want to mention, in addition to our Bulldog Day orientation sessions, the final orientation session we have in August that some of you are planning to attend, and these virtual presentations, we have tried to make sure that we're getting as much of this important information to you in many ways as possible. And so I just want to remind you, as you see there on the screen under the second bullet, that we've been sending financial topic-based emails that complement these presentations to your students, or those of you on the call tonight that are students, to your Samford email account. And so we hope that you will make sure to take a look there if you've not already been checking your email regularly to see those communications. What we did, in fact, in addition to sending the welcome packet, which is a comprehensive look at all financial matters, we broke that into more easily digestible pieces and sent them in individual emails. So at this point, including the one that went out today about bridging the gap, which we'll talk about later, you've pretty much been walked through the financial process through each of those emails. So we hope that you'll look back on those emails and find them helpful as well. And then last but not least, over the course of the last week or so, we specifically sent an email communication to our students who we've not yet received a 24 or 25 FAFSA for. And it's okay if you're not planning to submit that FAFSA. It gives you the opportunity to respond accordingly. And then we, we'll let things go from there. But for anyone who has submitted a FAFSA more than a couple of weeks ago, if you've received that email, and it, again, is coming to the student Samford email, that's our way of letting you know we've not received it. No worries. We have a way to retrieve that FAFSA, but we just want you to communicate to us that you feel confident you've submitted your FAFSA, and then give us the date of that submission if you have that information so that we can track it down. Ultimately, I know this year has been a bit stressful for all of us, especially where it comes to the FAFSA. So I just want to end this slide by saying we've got this. Of my 20 years roughly of overseeing these financial matters, I will say it's been one of the tougher years, but I still say we've got this. We're here to help you. That's what this presentation is all about tonight. And so I next just want to, move forward and let you know that the Samford One Stop is here to take care of the business of being a Samford student. For those of you who have already attended Bulldog Days, you heard me speak, or some of our advisors speak to you students to let you know that we are in Ingalls Hall, right here on campus, right below the admission team. So if you've been to campus for a tour, met with your admission counselor, you know which building we're in. We're just right beneath them. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You do not have to have an appointment to drop by. So as you're starting to move back on campus here in about a month or so, a little bit less than that actually, we welcome you to drop by the One Stop and visit with us. Say hello, get to know your One Stop advisor, and certainly ask any last minute questions that you might have ahead of the first week of classes. Or in between now and then, you are welcome to email us or call us where you see that contact information there on the screen. And of course, you can find all kinds of helpful information, like all of the information I'm sharing tonight, on our One Stop webpage, which is listed there as well. So in the Samford One Stop, the way that we help our students with the business of being a Samford student are by helping our Transportation Services Department distribute parking permits. These parking permits that you'll be registering for through the communication that Transportation Services will be sending out shortly will be handed out to you that first week of classes. So we'll be communicating and letting you know where those can be picked up. And again, we help with that process. We also do make and hand out Samford IDs. Most of you who attended Bulldog Days already have that in hand. But those that are planning to be here in August, just know we'll have them ready for you. And of course, if between the time you received it back in June and when you return to campus next month, which is just really not that far away, we're almost to next month, know that we can replace that ID for you. You can stop by the One Stop without an appointment and we'll get you another ID. So those are just some small ways that we help our students. And then of course, we've got these larger ways that we're helping with student accounts, making sure you know when you'll be receiving your statements, making sure that you understand how to interpret your student bill through your financial portal, making sure you know how to make payments, including outside payments like 529s, and making sure that if you need to sign up for a payment plan, you're able to do that. And we also help with financial aid, making sure you know how to access financial aid applications, sources of financial aid, including outside sources like VA benefits. We help with the comparison of your student account to your financial aid, making sure that you know if you're due a refund, how to receive that, or if there is a gap between your total bill and the financial aid or other payments that you have. We can help you know how to fill or bridge that gap. We'll talk about that a good bit this evening. And then we help with some other miscellaneous financial matters as well. We want to make sure that you know about our tuition insurance opportunity and that you understand, especially students, we want you to know that if you're making enrollment changes, dropping or adding classes, or withdrawing, we understand those things happen, but they do have a financial impact. So we want to just make sure you're aware that it's always important to reach out to us here in the One Stop to let us know if you're considering making changes within the semester or long term, so that we can let you know how that might impact you right away and even down the road financially. We have a great staff here in the One Stop. In addition to myself, we have our receptionist, India Rowe, our administrative assistant, Kim Watley, and our 4 One Stop advisors. As you can see them listed there on the screen with their contact information. Just know that each undergraduate student is assigned a One Stop advisor based off the first letter of their last name. So you can see there on the screen who your advisor is. For those that attended Bulldog Days, hopefully you had an opportunity to meet your advisor. For those that are planning to come to the final orientation in August, know that you can drop by the One Stop and meet them then. But again, you can reach them by email or call us ahead of that time so that you can go ahead and be talking through all of these things that we're going to look at a little closer. Before we really get started in looking at these financial matters, I do want to remind you who've already attended orientation and let you know if you've not, that we do have to abide by the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA. It's similar to HIPAA that we're all familiar with in the medical world. Essentially, what it does is it requires that we here at Samford protect your educational records. And that includes not just academic records, but also records like financial records, conduct records, and things of that nature. So in order to be able to talk with anyone other than you, the student, we do have to have your permission. And we want to encourage that. We understand that it's a partnership between you and us and your parents, guardians, other members who help you financially. And so we would ask that if you've not already, log into your Samford portal as you see on the screen there, circled in yellow. You'll click on the banner application and then select personal information from there to complete your student FERPA agreement. Once you give us permission to talk with other individuals aside from yourself, a parent can call in, guardian, whomever, email in, ask us questions, and we can discuss specific information with them, even if you're not present on the call, or copied on the email. So it's very helpful to you as you're transitioning here to Samford and learning more about these financial pieces. So we just want to encourage you to make sure you've taken care of that. Separate from FERPA, but very similar, it's easily confused, but it is a separate process. We also want to make sure that you know that it's important to set up an authorized user. Again, if you have someone in your life who's helping you with your financial matters, parent or otherwise, it's important to make sure you give us permission to talk with them through FERPA, but it's equally important that you set them up as an authorized user so that they have the ability to log in to the financial portal, view your student account, and take action like make a payment or set up a payment plan. So again, while FERPA gives us the opportunity to speak with others about your financial information, setting them up as an authorized user will allow them to be able to actually view and take action on your financial portal and financial account. So you'll log in to your Samford portal as you see there on the screen, and under your profile setup, you'll select authorized user and then follow the prompts from there so that you can make sure that you've got everyone that's helping you well prepared to be able to interact with us by giving permission through FERPA and then take action as needed through your account by setting them up as an authorized user. All right, so once you and your authorized users have access to your student account, which by the way, for those that have not already logged in to see, it is available. While statements will not go out to our students and authorized users via email until mid-August, which again is right around the corner, you can go ahead and log into your financial portal. You link to that from your Samford portal, and you can view your student account. And you see an example here on the screen. You can look at the account activity, and it'll show you there in the bottom right-hand corner your total charges for the semester, total credits, your estimated financial aid, and then ultimately your term balance. And so we'll talk about the way that it's important to log into your financial portal, view this, compare it to your payments, your financial aid, make sure that you've got those two ends meeting before the payment deadline, which for the fall is September 3rd. Before we talk about financial aid and how that comes into play, I do want to mention that we understand many of you will be making personal payments or outside payments through, the receipt of outside scholarships from outside agencies, payments through 529s. Maybe there are other sources of payment that you will be utilizing. And so regardless of what the payment might be, your personal payment or a scholarship coming from an outside agency or a 529 payment, we would recommend that you reach out to that agency, request the amount of funding, or provide the information they're needing to send whatever funding they're sending to us at the address you see there on the bottom of the screen, there in the box. By doing that, it will allow us to receive that scholarship or that payment, that 529 on your behalf and process it directly to your account. We would ask that you please, if it's a personal check or cashier's check, include your student's full name, or if you are the student, your full name and your Samford ID number, just so that we can make sure we're most efficient and accurate in getting that payment or that outside scholarship onto your account. And so on that note, if you're working with an outside scholarship agency or your 529 holder, you would just request that they please add your full name and your Samford ID number to the memo line of that check before sending it to the address you see there on the screen. Our goal ahead of the September 3rd deadline is to make sure that we've received all outside payments for you and applied them to your student account so that you're seeing that balance reduced by those payments. We also do have a payment plan option for those of you who are receiving those outside payments, but maybe will still have a remaining balance. If you're not able to make that full outstanding balance payment in one-time payment before September 3rd, we want you to know that we do have a payment plan option. Both of our fall payment plans are currently open. They opened mid-July. Our 5 installment payment plan will actually close on August 5th, so very shortly from now, but our 4 installment payment plan will remain open through September 3rd. We understand that for some of our families, you may be finalizing your financial matters and decisions very close to that payment deadline. And so we want you to know that if you determine you can utilize a payment plan, even on payment deadline day, you can sign up for that payment plan. Again, that would be the 4 installment. So essentially, for the payment plan, you log into your portal and click there on the link that you see on the screen and follow the prompts. There is a $100 enrollment fee to sign up for the payment plan each semester. But once you pay that enrollment fee and any required down payment, it takes the outstanding balance, divides it into multiple payments. They're each one payment per month over the course of the remainder of the semester. So again, if you're signing up, you'll pay that $100 enrollment fee, down payment if it's required. For the 4 installment, then you would have the remaining 3 payments over the course of the semester, one payment each month. And this just helps, obviously, make paying off that outstanding balance a little bit easier to break it into multiple payments. All right, but for our families who maybe are not making an outright payment or find that the outstanding balance, even after some other scholarships or outside sources of aid, is just greater than what can be afforded through a payment plan, we, of course, are here to work with you through the financial aid process. In fact, that's probably kind of the bread and butter of the One Stop as it currently stands. We're here to make sure that you know what applications to access, how to navigate the processes, to ensure that whatever financial aid you're eligible to receive and choose to accept can be processed and applied to your account on your behalf. And of course, again, our goal is to try and do that before September 3rd. So we've got just a little over a month. So if you're just getting started, please don't panic. Know that we do still have enough time. It'll be a little bit of a time crunch, but we're going to say we're right on time. We're not behind, but we want to go ahead and start making decisions and taking action pretty much right after we end this presentation this evening. As you all know, your application for admission was the application for entering merit scholarships. Those that were at Bulldog Day heard me congratulate you for those scholarships. I know it's so helpful and so important. And please know that beyond those scholarships, as you progress here at Samford, especially if you're performing very successfully academically, you'll have opportunities to apply for additional scholarships through your department or major for the following year. So at the end of your freshman year, you can apply for some additional scholarships going into your sophomore year. And those departmental scholarships can typically be stacked, as we call it, or in addition to these entering merit scholarships that usually are renewable as long as you're meeting the renewability criteria. So we're hopeful that as costs rise from year to year, as typically happens, we also are seeing a rise in your scholarships to help kind of offset that. We also are going to work with other types of benefits. Like I said before, we're more than happy to take those outside payments, outside scholarships, get them applied to your account. But the one I want to speak to for just a moment is that of veterans benefits. We do cooperate with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We are very appreciative to our veterans and our veteran families for their service and for their sacrifice. And we want to make sure that those benefits you have rightfully earned, you can utilize to their fullest here at Samford. The first step that we need you to do is to apply, and this would be the student, even if the benefit is the parents. Those of you who have this, you transfer that to your student. And then your student would go to the VA's website to apply for their certificate of eligibility. It's important that we have that certificate of eligibility. That's what initiates our effort to certify the student's enrollment and request that VA benefit for the student. So once your student has applied at the VA website for the certificate of eligibility, there's a place on our website, the One Stop's webpage, where you request for VA certification. You click there, the student enters in some information, uploads that certificate of eligibility, and from there, our VA processor takes that information and works with the VA directly to make sure that those funds are processed. And if they are VA benefits that pay directly to Samford on the student's behalf, we apply those to the student's account, and we make sure it's all accounted for accordingly. If it is a direct payment to the student, we make sure we've done our part so that that direct payment can make it to the student in a timely fashion according to the VA's requirements. And ultimately, what I want to say to our VA recipients or our VA benefit recipients is please know that we understand that sometimes the VA may not meet our payment deadline. But again, out of gratitude for your service and because it's the right thing to do, we will work with you and your family. As long as we have that certificate of eligibility, we've got a guarantee of those funds. And so even if they're not here by payment deadline, we'll make sure there's not a disruption to your student's start to the semester as we await those funds from the VA. So I do just want to share that information as well and hope that that puts your mind at ease a bit if that was a worry that you had. And then lastly, I just want to mention that beyond that application for admission, which again is the application for all merit scholarships, the most important application that we can help you with here in the Samford One Stop is the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, found at studentaid.gov. And I know it has earned quite a terrible reputation this year, unfortunately, but I do just want to reiterate, and again, this comes from someone with almost 2 decades of experience working in financial aid. It is still a valuable tool, and while we're a bit frustrated with it this year, it is still necessary in order for us to evaluate your student's eligibility for need-based aid, specifically state and federal aid. So if you're finding that in looking at that student account, that balance, less scholarships or other benefits or outside payments that you are accounting for, is still leaving you with owing more than what you can pay out of pocket directly or utilize the payment plan to pay over the course of the semester, I want to encourage you to consider the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. And if you're a student and you have not already visited studentaid.gov and submitted the 24-25 FAFSA and are now realizing that you may need to utilize financial aid, specifically again, state and federal financial aid, I want to encourage you to go ahead and move forward. Again, it's at studentaid.gov. You see there on the screen, you can start a new form and the student will actually create a federal student aid login credential and log in to start the FAFSA. Of course, as a parent or someone who's helping them, you're going to be looking over their shoulder. I have no doubt we would encourage that. Again, we're all partnering together to get through this process, but I just want to make it clear so that a FAFSA doesn't get tangled up or mixed up. It is actually the student who creates their student login information and is submitting that FAFSA. They'll include parent information with the parent's help if they're considered dependent based off FAFSA's terms. That will then prompt the parent to create some login credentials to electronically sign and confirm that the information listed on the FAFSA is accurate before total submission. And then once that FAFSA is submitted at studentaid.gov, we'll begin communicating to the student through their Samford email. So I always like to tell our students the first step sometimes feels like the hardest step in getting that FAFSA submitted. But once you have submitted the FAFSA using our school code to Samford, it takes about a week or two for us to receive it. Again, if you've not submitted the FAFSA and are realizing you need to do so, don't panic. I know basically what I just said is we're at the 1st of August. Payment deadline is September 3rd. If you submit your FAFSA this evening, it might take a week or two, which doesn't leave a lot of time, but we will work with you. We'll do our very best to get things processed as quickly as possible, and we'll be racing the clock right alongside of you to do all we can to help. So again, don't panic. We've got this. But as soon as that FAFSA is submitted, a week or so has passed, just know that we will receive that into our system. We'll immediately email the student to let them know next steps. It might be that there's something additional that has to be turned in order for us to meet the government's requirements to fully process that FAFSA and offer a total financial aid package, including federal aid like federal student loans. Or it might be, and this year they're being pretty gracious because of the circumstance, not asking for too much additional information. It might be that we receive your FAFSA and we can immediately offer a financial aid package. But regardless of the circumstance, we'll guide you to your Samford portal. As you see on the screen, I know that's a bit small, but I hope you can see it. Once logged in, you'll click again on the banner application. That will then reveal that one-stop tab that you see there, sort of mid of the top picture. And from there, you can click through to view your financial aid. And as you see at the bottom of the screen, you can see your grants and scholarships. Know that grants and scholarships are automatically accepted. They're not funds that have to be repaid if you're successfully completing your semester. And so we know that those are funds that are wanted. And so they are automatically accepted and processed for, quick processing and efficiency. As you see there at the bottom right, you do have the opportunity to accept federal work study as well as student loans. And so what I want to mention to you, because I know this is a conversation that comes up often, we offer student loans here at Samford. They are not automatically accepted. If you don't accept your student loans, they will never process, so there's no risk of wrongful indebtedness. Or if you decline them, then that obviously closes the door. But I want you to know it doesn't permanently close the door. We have families who unfortunately have changes in their financial circumstances, even within a semester. They initially decline the loans because they're not needed. And then they realize later on that their student does need to borrow a portion or all of their student loans. So the good news is here in the One Stop, we can typically back up on most things and kind of regroup and redirect. So if you do find yourself declining student loans and then realizing later that you need to accept a portion or all, you can reach out to your one-stop advisor and they can guide you through that process. But ultimately through your portal is where you'll make the decision to accept or decline those types of financial aid. Now, if you do choose to accept student loans, and again, we'll kind of talk about comparing the bill to financial aid in a moment, but let's say you're looking at your bill, you're seeing that total balance, you're looking at your current assistance, scholarships, maybe an outside payment of some sort, and you're realizing there's a difference. And you know as a family, you're not going to be able to take care of that full outstanding difference through just a payment or a payment plan. And so as a family, you decide it's best for your student to accept their student loans. If that's the situation, just know that once your student accepts their student loans through their portal, there are 2 additional loan requirements that do need to be completed at studentaid.gov. So your student will go back to studentaid.gov where the FAFSA was initially submitted. Your student will log in with the student login credentials. Again, sometimes that can get a bit confusing. We'll have parents log in, which is understandable. I'm a parent as well. I understand how closely we help our students, especially with new experiences. But just know that if you accidentally log in with your parent credentials and complete these items, it will allow you to complete them because we have parents who are also students. So it's set up to allow that, but it won't link with the loan the student has accepted. So again, I just want to reiterate and make sure it's clear that if your student accepts a portion or all of their student loans, they'll want to go to studentaid.gov, log in with their student login credentials there, and then complete the 2 requirements you see on the screen. Entrance counseling is a read and respond interactive opportunity online for your student to learn more about what it means to be a student loan borrower and what their rights and responsibilities are throughout their time in school and after in working through loan repayment. And so I recommend that our parents sit alongside of their students just to help explain some of the financial vocabulary that might be new to them so that they do feel confident in that decision to borrow a student loan, which is likely the first time they're borrowing a loan and establishing credit and working through something like this. But it is a very helpful tool. If you do go through it slowly and truly read and respond, it's very helpful and educational. So we recommend that be done, but ultimately it's required in order for the loan to pay to the student's account. And in addition to that requirement, separately, also at studentaid.gov is the electronic master promissory note, which is, of course, the student's agreement to repay their student loans once they are no longer enrolled at least half time during fall or spring. So if they have to withdraw temporarily, they might move into a grace period and then repayment on a student loan, or if they go straight through 4 years and graduate, then 6 months after graduation, they begin repayment. But these are the types of things that your student will learn about being a student loan borrower and repaying student loans at studentaid.gov when they log in to complete these requirements. All right, so hopefully most of you on the call tonight are roughly to that point. If you are, you're in a very good place ahead of the first week of classes and payment deadline. Again, if you're not, it's okay. We're here to help. We will work through it. We'll be speedy about it. And we'll do our very best to help make sure that everything's in order ahead of the start of the term. But for those of you who've reached that point, you've taken a look initially, you've decided whether or not student loans will or will not be borrowed. Maybe you've already made a decision about payment plan. Or for those that are just about to do that, this is where I hope that this presentation is most helpful to you. We're right about the halfway point, and I think we're right about halfway through the presentation, so we're doing really well. I want to be mindful of your time. So I'll continue to move pretty quickly, but again, don't worry. Remember, one, you'll get this recording so you can back it up and play it again. And two, you'll have access to your one-stop advisor to continue to ask follow-up questions until you're certain that you have everything in order ahead of the upcoming fall. But again, we just want to encourage you as a parent, we hope as an authorized user, and your student to take a look at that account that's already available, showing tuition and fees, dorm room, meal plan. Compare that to the fall term payments that you know are arriving on your student's behalf and other financial aid, except work study. And I'll explain what I mean about that in just a moment. But I want to reiterate, when you're looking at the financial aid package, remember that typically that is showing for the year. Most of those funds, like scholarships, student loans, that's listed for fall and spring. And so you're splitting that in half or dividing it in half between fall and spring. So you want to look at that student account, which is just for the fall right now, tuition fees, dorm room and meal plan if living on campus, and compare that to one half of your financial aid except work study. Work study is the only type of financial assistance that does not pay directly to the student's account. Work study is an opportunity for your student to accept and then link with student employment through their website to apply for on-campus work opportunities where they'll work probably 10 to 20 hours a week in between classes, prioritizing being a student over being a student employee, but nonetheless having the opportunity to earn minimum wage or slightly higher depending on the student employee position, and then to submit a biweekly time submission that then allows them in turn to be paid biweekly directly those earnings. So federal work study won't pay directly to the student's account. It goes into their hand, if you will, every couple of weeks and is really meant to help with those miscellaneous educational expenses that come up over the course of the year. Extra supplies for class, extra food when you're, up late studying and the cafeteria is already closed, things of that nature. And so just remember, when you're comparing that bill to that fall half of financial aid, you want to exclude work study from that equation since it'll be gradually earned. And then you'll want to determine, okay, do we have enough, more than enough, not enough? And we'll work from there. If you happen to be a family with scholarships, outside payments, maybe a 529, maybe VA benefits, maybe you've borrowed student loans, and with all of that, it's more than enough. We want to let you know that outside of Samford scholarships and some outside scholarships that have governing policies that don't allow it to be refunded directly to the student, just know that any funding in excess of that balance, specifically, I'm talking mostly like student loans, things of that nature, we will make sure that that overage, that credit balance, is distributed or refunded directly to your student at the appropriate time, just ahead of the fall term, so that those monies can be used to help with textbook purchases, other miscellaneous educational and living expenses to help them have a great, successful start to their semester. And we encourage our students to sign up for direct deposit. Direct deposit allows us to get that refund into an account safe and securely rather than placing a paper check in the mail, which can take a bit longer to get to the student and get then, processed for deposit. As you see on the screen, your student through their Samford portal can click on the electronic refund link and set up the direct deposit for that refund if due one. I do want to make mention that it is the student that has to set this up, but it does not have to be the student's account. It can be a joint account shared by student and parent or guardian, or if agreed upon by the student and family, it can be, a parent's account. You would just have to walk that student through having that information in order to submit it for that direct deposit setup. If you have any difficulty with that, of course, again, reach out to your one-stop advisor. They're here to help you get through that process. But For our families who find that, unfortunately, they don't have more than enough. In fact, they don't have quite enough. And just to give a hypothetical example, the bill for tuition fees, dorm room meal plans, roughly 27,000 for the fall semester, and scholarships and student loans combined for the fall semester is roughly 15,000. We've got a difference of 12,000 in this scenario for the semester. And I know for myself, I would not be able to utilize the payment plan. Even breaking that into 4 or 5 payments would be more than our family budget could take on right now. And so I need to be looking for some additional financial assistance to help bridge that gap to ensure that I meet that payment deadline, that I have enough financial aid in order to cover the balance so that there's no disruption to my students' start to the semester. And here in the One Stop, the two primary ways we can help our families bridge the gap are through the federal direct Parent Plus loan and private student loans. And so what I want to talk about first are our federal direct Parent Plus loans. For our dependent students who submit a FAFSA, you can, if your parent agrees, request that they please go back to studentaid.gov, log in with their parent credentials, and apply for the Parent Plus loan. This is a credit-based loan that the parent applies for in his or her name on behalf of the student. It allows the parent, if approved based upon credit, to borrow up to the student's total cost less their financial aid, and that difference should be more than enough to cover that outstanding balance because the total cost includes both those direct costs on the bill, like tuition fees, dorm room, meal plan, but also those indirect costs not listed there, like textbooks, other supplies, transportation, additional food, things of that nature. And so for our families who decide that a payment plan option is not a feasible option, and they can, however, borrow a Parent Plus loan, one or the other parent, biological and or listed on FAFSA, will go back to studentaid.gov, log in, apply. It does let you know automatically after application if approved or not. If you're not approved, please know that you can then request an endorser or a co-signer, someone within your circle that would help co-sign that loan or endorse that loan. And if then with your combined credit history and status you can be approved, then it will move forward. We then receive that loan funding just as we do student loans and apply it to the student's account to finish out making sure that balance is met. Now, for someone who might be denied that loan and without an endorser or co-borrower, please reach out to your one-stop advisor. Let your one-stop advisor know. I know sometimes these conversations can be a bit sensitive, and we want to let you know that we're here to help. There's no judgment. When that conversation takes place, we don't have room to judge, and we certainly don't want to. That's not what we're here for. We're here to help look for another way. And so I want to let you know that if you're denied for that Parent Plus loan, you don't have the option to have a co-borrower or an endorser, as they call it. You can still have your student reach out to us. There's a federal rule that states that if a parent is denied a parent loan, and it cannot be approved, then the student can be awarded additional unsubsidized student loan funding. It's typically not enough to kind of finish out the bill depending on the equation, but it does get them a bit closer. And it also helps us see that that family really is doing all they can to try to make those ends meet. And then we'll continue to work with the student from there. So we do encourage you to consider the Parent Plus loan option if, again, paying out of pocket or using the payment plan is not a feasible option. Now, for a student who might be considered independent, or for a family that wants to forego federal loans and would rather pursue a loan through their own personal bank or credit union, we do also process private student loans. And again, we can process a combination of these as well. We do have some families that will, borrow a parent loan, also borrow a private loan, just depending on the unique circumstance. And then we'll also utilize the payment plan because they want to, invest as much of their funding as they can, but might need to borrow to cover the difference. So again, your one-stop advisor is here to help you through all those combinations of options. But this private student loan option is one that you as the student initiate as the borrower, but will likely be required to have a co-borrower, especially if you're a traditional undergraduate student who's 17 or 18 years old without a well-established credit at this point. And so you would select your bank or credit union, go online, find their online application for their private student loan, go through that process, and if approved, they will reach out to us at Samford by way of you telling them Samford's where you're attending, and we will take it from there. Again, our goal is to process these private student loans on your behalf and pay them to your account. And you'd be quite surprised at how easy the process is. So even if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed at this point in the presentation, I know it's long and we're probably getting a little weary. Please note again that while these things might be new for you and might feel a little bit overwhelming or intimidating, these are things that we do every day, and we're here to make them as easy as possible, and we want to help. So please reach out to us here in the One Stop so that we can help you learn more about these to make the best decision for yourself, your family, and then also help you through these steps. Okay, so we have about 15 minutes remaining, and that gives us just enough time to talk about these other miscellaneous pieces of information. But before I start, I just want to reiterate, wherever you are in the financial aid process, we're here to help. If you're just now logging in and looking at that student account for the first time, comparing it to scholarships or out-of-pocket payments, and realizing you need to set up a payment plan, you've got time. If you're realizing the payment plan is not a feasible option and now you're needing to get the FAFSA submitted very quickly and work through that process with us in hopes to borrow some student loan funds or have access then to apply as a parent for a parent loan, we are going to be pushing the clock a bit, but we definitely still can get this done. We just want you to go ahead and take action. If not right when you log off from this session tonight, at least this weekend when everybody hopefully is together and can get those things submitted. And then lastly, if you're looking at the account and the financial assistance already in place, and deciding the FAFSA is not the right option for your family, but will need some additional assistance, you may want to go ahead and start researching those private student loan options through your personal bank or credit union or other banks or credit unions that you know to be founded that also have that option available. Again, you can find information on each of their websites. And we are here to help get you through the rest of those processes, make sure that those two ends meet, that financial aid or payment plan or the combination thereof are enough to cover that outstanding balance for the fall ahead of September 3rd so that your student can really focus on moving on to campus, acquainting themselves with campus life, student life, classes, and really have a great start. Once they're here, that first week of classes is called Drop Add Week. And that's an opportunity for your student to make sure that their schedule really fits their needs. We do have students who often attend a class or two that first week and decide this is not what I am needing to take on this semester. This is not exactly what I'm looking for. And so they may decide to drop that class. And there's typically no financial penalty for dropping a class that week. But again, we encourage our students to still check in with the One Stop to confirm that. This slide here on the screen is really more so for after that first week of class, after drop add. Enrollment changes, withdrawals, they do impact satisfactory academic progress. And that's really what we want to help our students know, that dropping a course may impact your financial aid eligibility for that semester or even long term. We do have to monitor students' academic progress. A lot of people, if they don't work in financial aid, don't realize that while it seems like we have nothing to do with academics, we're purely financial, we do overlap. We are required to make sure our students are meeting a certain minimum GPA, not just for scholarship renewability, but for federal aid eligibility, that they are progressing according to the government standards so that they're pacing themselves well to graduate in a timely fashion, and that they're completing 67% of their coursework successfully each semester as they progress. So we're wanting to make sure that our students are well informed. We understand things happen, and sometimes you do need to drop a class, or sometimes an unforeseen circumstance takes place and you are, forced to withdraw essentially. And so we are here to have grace and kindness and empathy and compassion and work through that with you. But it can unfortunately impact you financially despite the circumstance. And so we just want to have those conversations. And where maybe it's not required that you drop the class, you're just considering it, or we can figure out a way for you to remain enrolled and not withdraw. and still be successful personally and academically, we might find that the financial piece really drives that, because sometimes these changes can be quite costly. And again, all of this is based off federal law that we're required to follow. So we just want to really make sure you're aware that if you're making a change to your schedule, dropping a course, adding a course, withdrawing, that you reach out to the Samford One Stop, that you reach out to your One Stop advisor, let them know what's going on. It might allow us the opportunity to connect you with other on-campus resources that can be supportive and helpful to you, whether that's tutoring through our academic services um, office, or some other type of resource through counseling and wellness, what have you. But ultimately, it will allow us to help you feel very informed financially as you make those decisions. And then, as I mentioned before, we do have a tuition insurance program here at Samford, and we want to make sure that you're aware that we cooperate with a third party agency, GradGuard, and they offer tuition insurance. So for a fairly low fee, you can insure your students' insurance so that if they do in fact need to withdraw unexpectedly, you can hopefully recover, especially those funds that you might have invested personally in paying their bill for tuition. And like most insurance, if it's not used, you might feel like it was not worth that small investment. But where it needs to be used, what I have found, those families that register for that tuition insurance through GradGuard, they are so grateful that they have it, because it certainly helps soften the hardship and burden that they're going through during a time, obviously, where plans are changing a bit and not as expected. What I will let you know is you'll receive more information from us and GradGuard in the upcoming weeks. And so if you are interested, you'll have the opportunity to connect through their secure online website and sign up there. All right, here on the screen, we have some important dates and deadlines. You'll see a couple have already passed, but no worries. Those were just getting us started. Again, you'll see on August 5th that 5 installment payment plan closes. We still have the 4 installment payment plan open through payment deadline, so no worries. Don't feel like you have to make a really rushed decision, but if you're thinking that breaking that outstanding balance into 5 payments rather than 4 would be most beneficial to you, then you might want to go ahead and make that decision ahead of August 5th. And remember, we're going to send out this recording, so you're welcome to snap a picture of the screen, but certainly you don't have to, because you'll be able to see these dates again. And they're also listed in that welcome packet that's at the bottom of every financial aid email that we have sent from the One Stop over the last month, walking you through all of this information piece by piece. So we hope that you have it in multiple ways, which I hope, again, would be most helpful. And then lastly, I just want to show our financial checklist. This is a quick overview of what I described this evening, from FAFSA to making sure that bill is complete. And so this also is available at the bottom of each of those communications as a quick reference. So hopefully you're somewhere between 1 and 7 there, and can then continue walking on through the process. We're certainly here to help with that. Okay, last but not least, please don't forget, contact your One Stop advisor if you have any questions about any of this information or other financial matters. We want to make sure that you have their contact information and have access to help you reach them so that they can help you. If you've already been calling in or emailing, you're getting our automated responses that let you know it's peak season, and that while we typically strive to return our phone calls and emails within 48 hours. With it being peak season, there might be a bit more of a delay, but please know we understand how important this is to you all. We know that August 1 is right around the corner, which means the start of class is even right around the next corner. And so we are not going to tarry or delay in getting back to you. If you're not hearing from your One Stop advisor right away, we appreciate your patience and grace, and just want to remind you that we will return every call, we will return every email, and we will do so as quickly as possible. So know if you're not hearing from us, it's not neglect by any means. In fact, we're probably very stressed out trying to hurry and get to the next call and the next email, and we will. because we are here to serve you. We love what we do. It's very rewarding. And we are very, very thankful and honored that you would entrust us with these very important decisions and actions to help your student have their financial needs here at Samford met so that they can then be successful in every other way. So, with that said, there's our contact information once more on the screen. And I believe we're coming up on the hour. I'm going to see if David is still on the call here. He may want to go ahead and wish us well on the evening, but if he does not come back on the line, then I certainly will do that. Again, our chat was closed tonight just so we could focus on presenting the information, and also just to reiterate and emphasize that your one-stop advisor really is your best resource and point of contact to have these follow-up questions that I know are swirling through your mind answered for you. And so we encourage you to definitely reach out. But David, are you there? All right. He may have had to step away from the call. Oh, he's there. And now I've got to figure out how to unmute you. Bear with us. There's so many people on with us tonight, which I love. I don't know if I can find you in the list. Let's see what I can do. Let's see here. Because I would love for them to hear from you. Oh, good. I figured it out. All right.
Ask your question one more time, Nikki. I did have to take a call, but go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just giving you the opportunity to tell everybody good evening, but I'm
Oh,
happy to do
yes.
so myself.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you all again for hopping on. I know this information it's not always the fun stuff you got to cover, but it's the necessary information. I hope it was helpful. I know it will be helpful, especially as you line the last few pieces of information up ahead of August 21st, 22nd, 23rd, when y'all are coming to campus. If we can be of a resource for you in admissions, of course, we'll continue to be just that. But all the financial matters and all the helpful resources that Nikki and her team can provide you, you now have even more resources at your disposal. So we hope and wish you well. Safe travels to campus in a couple weeks. And thanks again for joining. We really appreciate it.
Bye bye. Thank you. Have a good night.